That's all I'll do.
So no tutorial?
Hello, everyone. Hi there. Hi. And the jackets, I still can't. I can't reconcile the red jackets, but they're awesome. Welcome, everybody, to the 2017 Capstone presentations. Let's give a round of applause. This is Cohort 13. This is also the last day of class, and this will be the first day of sleep for everybody who are students here. We've definitely seen some, well, walking in here this morning was a sight to behold, that is for sure. There were some tired people in the building. So I know you guys are excited to do your final presentations. We're excited to see them. Just a couple of reminders. If you could turn off your cell phones and beepers and pagers for those of you that are doing nefarious activities with beepers or pagers. Anything that makes a noise, please turn them off if you would. We would appreciate it. Second, if you are here and you're interested in becoming a FIEA and getting some snappy jackets like these and just being part of a really awesome graduate school program, see either me, and I can certainly give you more information and help out, or Sarah's here as well, or Tara's here as well. We'll be happy to take you around,
Or ask a student.
for you, answer any questions that we can, get you some literature, whatever the case may be.
What do we have?
Third is if you, there's going to be 5-minute breaks in between. We're going to have 4 presentations today with 5-minute breaks in between them. So there'll be time to get up and go to the bathroom or do whatever you need to do. This is also streaming online, so if you have any friends that want to see it, tell them to go to our YouTube channel, and it's running right now. If you do come back in and presentations have started, for some reason don't come back in the front door right here. Obviously this is where the presenters will be standing. There is a back door, so just go around to the left, and there is a side door that you can come back in. Are there any other announcements or anything that I'm missing? You're pointing. Food. Yes. 4:30. Okay. There is going to be some food had after this. A low country boil for those of you who are from New Orleans or surrounding areas. So we're going to have food as kind of a celebration. And so we're trying that out. This is the first year I think we've had formal big feast of all sorts of good stuff, which is going to have, where's JR? Anybody who's involved in the cooking? Oh, he's cooking. Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. So we're going to have shrimp and I think corn and sausage and just kind of like what comes with a low country boil. And so that's going to be really fantastic. Make sure you join us for that as well. And that's going to be next door in the sound stage, which I think is set up already. I feel like I've already taken too much time, but is there anything else? Anybody got any other announcements or anything that we need to cover? All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rick Hall, and he is going to get the presentation going. So Rick, let's get it up for Rick.
For those of you who are not necessarily familiar with the process, this is kind of the big feature part, the marquee part of FIEA. It's called Capstone Projects. We started this way back in the first semester with a bunch of teams conspiring to get ahead of everybody else and forming their own little cabals and getting together with designs, ideas. We pitched our ideas in December, and then we started hacking and slashing our way through them. I think we started with 9, and we've ended with 4. We've been particularly brutal this year. But I think the end results will tell. I think this year's games look as good, I think, as any of the games that I've seen in the past. Pretty happy with the results. As always, it was kind of an 11th hour thing with a lot of the teams. I tell the teams in the beginning, whatever your notion is of scope when you start, you're going to cut it in half as soon as you start the project, and then you're going to cut it in half with a vertical slice, and then you're going to cut it in half at the end of this second semester, and then you're going to cut it in half in June. And then you'll be close to where you need to be. And I think we've seen that process follow through yet again. I'm really happy with these projects. I think we've got one of our biggest teams in the history of FIEA stepping up first with the draft. There's a 20-man team at the end of all said and done. It's a virtual reality game, so we're going to have the draft, followed by Logician, followed by a game called Master Key, and rounding out with Hollowed. All 4 games, roughly, give or take, are about a half-hour-long presentation, give or take. Normally, when I put a time limit on these things, I'm kind of like a schedule Nazi about it. And this year, screw that. It takes as long as it takes. This is a day for the students to celebrate, to show us what they got. Let's just go ahead. You don't want to hear me talk anymore. Let's go ahead and get it started. We'll hear from our first game, Paul Nierenberg in the draft.
So we're actually going to start with our trailer, and we're going to shut all the lights off for that. I'm going to let this play, and then we'll go into the presentation. Yeah, good enough.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The stage is set for the perfect game here tonight. It appears that both commanders are ready, so let's get this game underway.
All right, let's win this thing. My time to shine.
Lights. A little bit of front light. Do I have an exit bar? Fantastic. Well, all that's coming up. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Paul Nierenberg. I'm the project lead for the draft, and I am excited to show this to you. Slideshow. There we go. Fantastic. So in order to understand the draft and the sort of strange game you just saw, I'm actually going to have to take us back to the beginning. Because in order to understand it, you need to understand the goals and desires that pushed us to make this game. When the draft was originally pitched to me, it was pitched as a tactics game, or a tactical RPG. That's a game where you play as a commander or strategist, and you send units around a field so they can fight battles, and you can watch your units fight from across the screen. They do the fighting for you. What was interesting about the pitch was that instead of making a regular tactics game, we were going to make this game for virtual reality, so that you could not only play as the strategist, but you could also play as the soldiers fighting the battle for yourself. I love the idea of the game, and I happen to be a huge fan of tactics games, but what really got me about this game was not the design itself, but the intention behind it. You see, there are a lot of great tactics games out there. I'm a huge fan of the genre. I've played plenty of them. But not a one of them has ever stepped into the world of VR before. So what was really offered at that moment was not just a chance to make a fun game, but the chance to step away from the traditional designs that we'd all made and played 100 times and break some new ground in a design space that really had not ever been explored. Over the next few months, we found a group of like-minded individuals who wanted to make something new, and we set out these 3 goals. Number 1, we would design something original for a platform that didn't have clear markers of what was right and what was wrong. Number 2, we would prove that VR and beautiful art were not mutually exclusive things, even though we'd looked around the market and seen so many games that had cartoonish graphics or were extremely simple. Finally, we wanted to push the boundaries of what VR is capable of. And by that I mean both the boundaries of what we were asking the players to do in terms of complexity, but also push against some of the design challenges that naturally come with working in VR. I'd like to show you a few of the design challenges that we ran into, because they are bizarre and interesting, and we managed to solve some very interesting things. So first, player autonomy. When you're playing a regular game, let's say your average shooter, you can run, and you can jump, and you can crouch, whatever you got to do, and you feel very autonomous. You feel like you have a lot of ability to move around and operate within the game. But you don't. The designer has an incredible amount of control when they can determine how fast you run, how high you jump, how small you are when you crawl, all these little things. And if they don't want you to go somewhere, They simply put a wall in the way, and you can't cross it. Similarly, if a designer wants to show you something important, be it important information or an important event, they can just grab your camera and turn it, because they can take that control from you. The same is not true in VR at all. Players have complete body autonomy, which means that if you want to take your hand and stick it directly through a brazier, you can, and we have no way of stopping you. For those curious, we're making a combat game, a game where you're fighting one-on-one with swords, and we had to find a way for you to be able to fight a sword that didn't actually exist. So we spent months building up visual, aural, and haptic feedback so we could essentially trick players when they collide with another sword into feeling something that isn't actually there. The second challenge we ran into was VR tracking. So when people who see VR, they just assume, oh, the system knows where you are. That is not true at all. What the system actually does is it takes the position of your headset, it takes the position of your two hands, and it triangulates between them. And what it does is it finds that center point, and it says, oh, this is probably where the player is. So if someone's standing like this, the head up here, it's like, oh, the player's right around here. And it's a pretty good estimation. The problem is, if I put both of my hands above my head, when the system triangulates, it thinks the player is up here. Now, when you have an enemy lunging at you with a sword, and they're lunging 6 feet into the air, it looks really awkward. And they can't hit you. And we had a big, big problem with that. We struggled for months changing numbers, adjusting colliders, and making things bigger and smaller, trying to fix it, until we realized we didn't actually have to use what the system gave us. So we broke it into pieces. What we ended up doing was that we decided to take just the two controllers like this and find the player's direction of facing using only the two hand controllers. And then we would find the distance from the AI to the headset directly, not using any other numbers. And with that, we were able to find the player's position easily because the body turns with the arms, and we could find the distance because your head just can't move too far from your body. And we managed to solve the problem without having to build out an entire new way of tracking the player. The third thing we ran into was UI. So for people who don't know what UI is, these are all the buttons and controls and information that the game gives you. So when you need to know your health, when you need to know the score, when you need to know what phase you're in, UI is how we tell you. We wanted to be cool when we first made this game, so we're like, oh, you're in a headset, let's make a cool sci-fi visor, and we're just going to put your health bar right on the visor. Because that looks awesome, right? We've seen it in the movies. Should be cool. Do not do that. Just do not. The way VR actually works with the headset is that there are two projectors that come like this, and for the world at a distance, it works perfectly. But when you put something like a health bar on the projector, you get an effect very similar to taking your finger, putting it to the bridge of your nose, and trying to focus on it. It will give you a headache because you'll be getting serious double vision. So we said, okay, that doesn't work. We're going to try again. So we said, okay, we will take the health bars and we'll put them directly 2D into the world above the enemies that we're fighting. The problem is that the game updates the visual you see every so often, and the player moves a whole lot faster. So when we initially had your health bar on the back of your sword, if I'm holding still, I can see the health bar. But as soon as I swing my sword, the health bar is here, and then it flickers, and it comes here, and then it flickers, and it comes here. It could not keep up with a real person. So we had to find something else to do. What we ended up doing was completely scrapping all of our UI and rebuilding it so that every piece of UI was built directly into the world and made sense not only with the design and ease of use, but also with the fiction. The thing is, we actually ended up with some really cool things because of this. What you see here on the left is the strategist bracer. This thing actually stays stapled to your arm, and what it does is it shows you the phase of the game that you're in, the score, and it allows you to select units solely by gesturing at your arm. And it works really, really well, but we never would have thought to use your own body as a piece of the UI if we hadn't run into these other problems. The next thing we ran into was real-world space. So I'm going to move over here for a second to demonstrate. If I'm a strategist and I'm issuing commands, I can just point and click and send people all over the place, and that's fine. And when I get into combat, I'll fight a little bit, and I'll go wherever I have to go. Now, within the game world, I can plop the game world, your character in the game world, anywhere I want. So I can put you right back into the strategist slot from here. The problem is, I'm now 3 feet from where I started. So the next time I get into combat, I'm going to lunge directly out of the play space. or worse, directly into a wall. This is an artist's rendition of something that actually happened. A sweet tech designer of ours, he did slam his hand into a wall, which provoked us to actually try and fix this problem. So what we had to do is we had to build a system in the game entirely dedicated to recentering the player in the play space. And what we made was something that forces the player, whenever they're changing from strategy mode to combat mode, to pick up the tool they need. So if I want to go fight with a sword, I have to walk to the center and pick up a sword. If I want to give strategy commands, I have to walk to the center and pick up that strategy gauntlet you just saw. So we managed to solve that one as well. The last one was actually the most unexpected, but was simply hardware. The school had, for the most part, 2 Vives that we could use for the majority of our capstone time. And these sentences will make a lot of sense to the designers, to the actual game builders in the audience, but you can't test anything unless you have a VR system to test it on. So you may think your art looks beautiful and you step in and it's full of holes. You may think your code works, but actually you swing and you go right through the other player. And when we only have 2 things to test on, while other teams are also building VR stuff, it's extremely challenging. Not to mention that whenever we wanted to play test, we 1, had to schlep a big VR system out to wherever we were going, but 2, could only play test with 1 person at a time. Now this one, we didn't manage to solve this, but I'm very enheartened to know that FIEA is actually buying a whole fleet of new Vives for the next cohort, so that at least some students in the future won't have to go through the same bottleneck we went through. And frankly, I'm really happy they are. So we solved all of these challenges, and admittedly quite a number more, and ended up with a strange game, but one that I'm extremely proud of, both for its uniqueness and for its accomplishment. The game that we actually made is a tactical sports game. You get to play as both that focuses on one-on-one combat and clever positioning around a field. You get to play as both the strategist looking down and giving commands, and as the units themselves fighting one-on-one with a sword. You switch back and forth between these 2 phases while you run your units around scoring points. So there are 3 ways to score points. The first is simply getting a goal. If you want to score a goal, you can command one of your units and send them directly into the enemy goal. Seems simple, but the enemy is not going to simply let you walk on into its goal. If they can catch you, they can fight you. Whenever 2 units run into each other, you have to step in and fight a one-on-one battle, and whoever wins that battle scores a point. The important part about the battles is not simply fighting, though. Since this is a sport, we don't kill people. Instead, when you win the fight, you get to send the enemy unit flying through the air. You can use this in order to knock units out of the way. Perhaps there's a unit running to my goal and I want to smack him out of the way. If he's on a path that I don't like, I can smack him off of that path. But if you're really daring, you can attempt to smack that unit directly out of the arena. If you successfully do, you score 3 more points. So now you know how to score, and knowing is half the battle. The other half is knowing how to control your units. Oh, by the way, this is the penalty box. Whenever you get penaltied by being knocked out of the arena, you end up in here. And you'll eventually respawn in this refresh zone, similar to whenever you score a goal, you respawn here as well. The other half is controlling your units. So this is the view you're going to see when we're playing as the strategist. And you can look around and you can see I have my units here. They're each marked by a number. Here are the enemy units here. And I'm looking down and above giving commands. One thing you're really going to want to pay attention to is this reticle around here. So you see how he's moving around. He can point and gesture with his arm to click and send units to places. And they will go to wherever he leaves those commands. And you can see again over here he's issuing commands and letting it go. Additionally, you're going to want to pay attention to these. So these are power-ups that are floating around the field. Health and speed should make pretty solid sense. Your character gets more health, your character moves faster. This one in the middle, archery, is a bit special. We built out an entire second fighting mode where the player gets to pick up a bow and arrow and actually shoot at enemies running around the map. It's pretty awesome, and I promise you'll know it when you see it. Finally, teleportation. So I mentioned that camera work in VR is a little bit weird. You're occasionally going to see a screen that looks like this with these other pillars lit up around the room. This is because if we want the player to get a better view on the world, we can't just pick them up and throw them somewhere else. They can't just hover up into the air to view the entire map. We have to actually move them in the game space. So we allow players to teleport to one of 6 boxes around the arena in order to get better viewpoints. It looks a little bit like this. So if you see the view change a little bit suddenly, like that, don't be concerned. That's them teleporting around. As a final note, you will occasionally see that the game is in timeout, where the units aren't actually moving and the player is issuing commands before things happen. This isn't a bug. You need time to think and send your units out so you can actually make plans. It'll look like this. You'll see timeout up on the board, and the units will get running. The other side is combat. Now, combat's pretty simple. We all know. You just have to stick them with the pointy end. However, we did want to build it out to make it a bit more interesting. So we added a shield here to both help the player defend themselves and help the enemy defend themselves from you. And we also added a special ability to go slow-mo and essentially dodge out of the way or make unique and challenging strikes by getting around the enemy's guard. When you win combat, you're going to see something like this. This unit is stunned. They've lost. When a unit is stunned, you can wind up a shot and send them flying through the air for the strikes I mentioned earlier. However, sometimes you lose as well. That's going to look like this, where the whole screen goes red, you see the enemy strike through you, and your unit gets knocked out of the way before you head back to the strategist mode. And they will score points for that, and your unit will be removed from combat. So that's pretty much it. The game is pretty simple, but it's very hard to pick up when you're just watching it at full speed. There's only one thing left that I'd like to talk about before we go into the demo. And, well, when we show you our demo, we're going to put it up here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a capture from within the visor, and we're going to display it up here for everyone to see. And it's going to look great. It's going to look very cool. But there's a problem with it. You see, for a regular game, a big two-dimensional screen is perfect because those games are meant to be played through a screen. It's a close, if not perfect, representation of the actual gameplay. But the same is not true for the draft because the draft is made in VR. And VR is not flat. It wasn't built for a screen. It neither needs nor wants one. So you're only going to get to see a two-dimensional representation of a real 3D space that we have made. It's sort of like the difference between watching a football game on your TV at home and actually going to the stadium. In one, you're an observer. You see something great happen and you cheer and get excited because you know something great happened somewhere. But in the other, you're not just an observer. You're actually part of the event, and you can get swept up in being part of something awesome instead of just seeing it happen somewhere else. I want you to keep that idea in mind when you watch this demo, because the sliver that you see on screen isn't a true representation of our gameplay. But we don't have time to take everyone in the audience and put them into the headset. But if you think that what you see up here is indicative not only of the gameplay, but also of the hard work this team has put into this game, then you would be doing them a great disservice. Now, I am absolutely proud as I can be to finally show you all the draft. Vince, come on up here. Oh, don't look at that. That's not us, I promise. Definitely not this team.
You want to get the last call?
Yes. So this is going down. And I have the back on. I have the front on. I'm going to turn the back off. Great. We'll find out in a second. You know where the keyboard is?
Hello, and welcome to the draft. The draft is a futuristic sci-fi sport that mixes visceral gladiatorial combat with the field strategy of football. We're still getting things set up, but you can practice with a basic version of the game before we start the real season. Touch the other buttons on this console to see how the game is played.
You have to forgive us. There's like a 20-minute second load here. So 20-minute second load. Yeah. But you can enjoy our beautiful logo while you wait. It's kind of a bulky game. That's why it takes a little while.
Greetings,
There it
students.
is.
I am Gabby, your general audio-based intelligence. Today's match will be played in the Nordic Fjords. You will be leading the Alder Serpents. Please activate the start board to indicate you're ready. Confirmed. The match will now start. Incoming battle. Please step into the blue teleporter to initiate combat. Enemy defeated. Exiting combat now. Enemy engaging. Initializing combat momentarily.
The dear bastard son of a bitch.
Player victorious. Return to strategy platform. Enemy unit in range. Prepare for combat.
Ain't got no what even hit it.
Clear team.
Just giving the people their money's worth.
Clear team scored.
All right, let's do this. All right, let's win this thing.
Brutal. Vince!
Activating slow.
Enemy exiting combat mode.
I didn't know you could actually hit Jumbo.
Attention strategist, the match has ended. Your team was victorious.
Nicely done, Vince. There's just a teeny last little moment. I'd like... let me put this back in for a second. Damn it. There we go. I'd like if we could all just take a moment to applaud the team that worked so hard for this game. Draft! It's stand-up time! Stand-up time for the draft! And finally, thank you all for coming. There you go.
Let's take our seats. Let's get ready for our second presentation of the day, Logician.
All right, I too will start with the trailer. Hey, shut up. All right, so definitely a different tone than the last game. All right, guys, so I'm Adnan. I'm the project lead for the Logician. We're really excited to show you what we have. We've been working really hard for what feels like an eternity, but it's actually about 7, 8 months. So we're really excited. You know, again, like I said, thank you for everybody for coming. You know, we see a lot of families. So I want to give everybody that came a round of applause for coming and supporting us. Yeah, I see a lot of parents. Good, good, good. All right, so I want to talk about what Logician is. So Logician is a game to inspire interest in programming by using a friendly robot to help you care for a farm. Players in the game play as Nico and must repair their uncle's farm after a storm destroys it. Now, Logician has a longer history than just Capstone. It originally started in Ron's rapid prototype production class, so there was an original team. And the original team consisted of 2 artists, 2 programmers, and Charlie, a producer, so the lone producer on that team. And so they created a concept in RP2, the second round of RPP, I believe, and it went pretty well. People had a really good response to it, and so the conversation happened then about taking the game past RPP and taking it into Capstone. So we talked to a lot of people. We tried to figure out who was interested, and afterwards, this is the team that started to emerge for Logician in the very beginning. There was 8 of us, 4 programmers, 3 producers, and one artist. Please forgive us for the headshots. This is all I could muster, and we look very different. Oh God, I can't look at that. All right. So you can see that we have 1 artist. So naturally, it was a challenge, right? How do you build a game with 1 artist? Is obviously something to consider. We brainstormed for a bit. We thought about it, and we came up with a good idea. We basically locked Noelle in a dungeon and told her to get to work. Did anybody let her out? Oh, there's okay, good. Noelle's here. Good. So luckily, over the course of Capstone, we picked up other members, so it came to a team of 12, and we worked really hard to make sure that the game, was consistent with the vision that we were hoping for. So what I want to talk about is just like the work we've done. Like I said, there's a lot of FIENs here, obviously, a lot of former FIENs. FIEA is, you come here and you work for hours and hours and hours, and you toil and you sweat, and a lot of times you suck, and then you learn from it, So we worked a whole lot. So I want to show where the work kind of started and how far we've come. And one of the first things I want to talk about is just a general appearance of the game. So, oh wait, sorry. Oh, I forgot to do this. Okay, yeah, so there's other members of the team, other people that helped us that I wanted to thank. So obviously we had a small team, so a bunch of people in the cohort helped us as well as some friends. Sam Gillies, a friend of ours, composed a lot of the music. We had other artists that thankfully help us to contribute other assets to round out the style. Martha Kelly did some of the animations that you'll see on the animals. These are some other special thanks we'd like to give. We also want to thank the Orlando Science Center and the Lake Highland Preparatory School. Mike Dougherty, one of the programming teachers at Lake Highland, and Jesse Zito at Orlando Science Center allowed us to play test with their kids, which was really helpful for us. It really gave us some really good feedback because the game is targeted towards middle school kids. So now, after thanking everybody and talking about the kind of people that worked on this team and worked on this game and who contributed, now I want to talk about the work that we've done. This is what the game looked like in RPP, right? This is second round RPP. Remember, 5 people, and this is the very base that we started off of. So we took this and we created like a stock level with really ugly quads and just largely straight programmer art. You know that robot you saw? This is that robot. High quality sphere, right? This is where we started. And it was great for us to see this, right? Because a couple weeks ago we were looking through some of our old stuff and we find this video of this stage of the game, and man, it's crazy to see what it looks like now, because this is what the game looks like now. This is a more recent photo of it, probably about a month ago, and so you can see already in the level. And just the general appearance of the game, there's been a lot of improvements. One of the other big components of our game has been the UI and like the kind of interface. So this is our first iteration of oh. I guess I moved that slide. All right, so this is the characters. So this is Nico, the main character the player plays as, and this is like the very first kind of iteration of him that you see in Vertical Slice. If anybody watched the Vertical Slice presentation, this is what he looks like now. You can see he has a different. We gave them different outfits to wear for the player to use, and you can see obviously the improvement on it. He has very nice udders on him, which I thought was a good touch. A little creepy, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. For the UI, like I mentioned, this is the very first UI. No, this is not an engine. This is indeed just a drawing, and I'll let you guess if you think this is a programmer, or an artist, or a producer. You can figure that one out on your own. What happens next is this. So this is like the kind of proxy UI we have, and this is programmer art, high quality, right? A bunch of blocks and stuff. And this is actual after the touch of an artist, right? So there's been a lot of work that we've done over a time period of iterating, and for us it was really nice, and we're really glad to share that with you. And this is what I wanted to show you through the PowerPoint, just like the kind of iteration and kind of work, right? Because all these stages from this to that, it took work, effort, trial and error, long hours, long nights, and the team worked really hard to bring it to fruition. Now, with that said, I want to bring Carson up to do the demo. Yes, woo, yes. So I'll just set up on top. All right, so for the demo, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run through some of the introduction quests and stuff like that, and some of the basic gameplay at the beginning, and then to make sure that we can show you more of the content of the game, we're going to start using some of our developer abilities to kind of fast forward and load some saves that we've worked on previous to this. So at this point, like, you can see there's a bunch of different goals going on the side. And one of our big things that we play tested and we talk to kids about is not forcing them to choose what they want to do. So Carson playing a game, if he was a middle schooler, could choose to follow on one goal versus the other in any order he wishes. So we're going to skip this right now and we're going to go to sleep and kind of go forward with some of these goals. Alright, so hopefully you guys get the general idea of how you progress through the game. What we're going to start doing now is that we're going to start loading saves that we've prepared beforehand, that we've played through and gone through further into the game. So we're going to load these saves and we're going to start using some of our abilities to grow the crops faster as developers, just to show you more of the content that we have for players to explore. Carson, you want to go ahead and load the first save? Is there volume? Oh, yeah. So you can see the farm has been built out more. We've added some more crops to it. We have a new outfit, if you guys hadn't noticed, that we put on. So all of this stuff, this isn't like an editor. All this stuff, we play through the game and we did it on our own and we saved the file off and we're loading it again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show the barn and the cows, and we're going to show fishing. So I think the barn comes first. that funny. Carson, bring the cow to the barn, give him some fresh air. So the cow has a bunch of different, like if you want to open up the care panel for the cow. So it has hunger, tired, grumpy. It has these different energy bars, and you have to take care of them based on what they like. So they like certain things, they dislike other things, and then you can manipulate those to get certain outputs that you want. We have like a couple stations in the barn, and Carson will show you the feeder right now. Here you can see that you can feed whatever cows you want, whatever you want. And you kind of have to like figure out what you're doing, what you want them to eat, maybe based on their likes or dislikes. So now the feeder has food and it's been set up. Carson can now send myself, I suppose, back into the barn to eat. Alright, so you also want to do the fishing quest, Carson? So here we're using operators and or greater than, less than, those kinds of things. So you have to kind of see the image of the fish on top and then see whether or not this is true or false. So that's fishing. Now there's one more thing, there's one more aspect of the game we want to show you. You saw in the tutorials alluded to that crops have different behaviors. They don't just grow up and you just harvest them. So we're going to load the next save now, and we're going to show you some of the cool stuff that you can do with crops. Do now is this is a strawberry, and we're going to start using our developer powers to overwater it. This will only take a couple of days for you to cultivate these crops. We're just going to do it really fast right now. And we'll show you another example of this with the mushroom. on. But we'll show you some of the other cool stuff you can do with Kino as you progress through the game. Let's do a function first, Carson. So players can create their own kind of function. So you can make a bunch of code, save it, and then save it as a function that you can then drag in much faster. Now that Kino's planning this crop, you have this function you've made. You can put whatever you want in the function and however complex you want to make it. You can edit it and change it if you like as well. So if it works the way you want, great. If it doesn't, then you can update that. We also have an array module. Array module. Alright, I think we counted a bug. So normally we have arrays that allow you to do like a for-each loop for a space that we've picked. We want to show you finally some of the ways that you can take care of your farm. So we have a setup right now, and basically it's a cactus surrounded by 4 mushrooms. And so what will happen now is that the cactus will water crops. Actually, Carson, just go ahead and show them. Water. Fast forwarding time obviously, but the cactus when it's over water will water nearby crops, and so you can kind of use it to water crops around the cactus. But if it's underwatered, it will then steal water from nearby crops. So you can use it as a way to kind of manage your farm and interact with the different things. The crops around it are mushrooms. Oh, the cow went fired twice. That's fine. Yeah, so there's some interactions we have. That's what we have to show for you to show today. Do you want, Carson, you want to go back and grab that cow, see what happened to him? Grab me, I suppose. Alright, so I guess it bugged out, but normally what happens is that cow is a hat that you can then put on yourself. So these are kind of fun and cute interactions that we want to have in game. And so what we have to show for you, we'd like to thank everybody for coming, and thank you so much. Carson, you want to get out of this? Yes, that's what we got to thank you. Yeah, like I said, thank you guys so much for coming out. We're really excited to show you what we had. We were really happy with it. It was a lot of fun making this game, so thanks for everybody. Thanks to everybody for watching.
I remember.
No, just go. Cool. So, hello everyone. I'm Corey Laver. I'm a producer for Team Master Key. And so now that you've had a little teaser of what's to come, I want to spend some time talking about what Master Key is and sort of the journey we've been on as a team to get to this final presentation that we're so excited to really showcase for you guys. So to begin with, I'm going to go all the way back to December, where we had this discussion of, sorry about that. Okay, sorry. We had the discussion of what are we going to make. So when we formed this team, we thought about here's a couple ideas that are really going to be pivotal to what Master Key is. So the first sort of flag we laid down was Master Key is an FPS without a weapon. So what's that mean exactly? For us, we have played so many traditional FPSs where you're given a machine gun, you can just run through environments blasting enemies. And as much fun as that is, we want to try a different take, something where we can try to do something original, and we went with this idea of using a tool instead. So pictured here is our gun, the Master Key. And so what this tool does is you connect objects with a tether. So what that does is transfers electricity, so you can use that to power up these rundown devices you find in the world.
And you can also pull objects together with physics. So maybe you pull a box into a wall, or maybe an exploding barrel into an enemy. So a lot of different options of how we can use this core mechanic to add dynamic gameplay. So the second thing we really wanted to focus on was the idea that our game is going to tell a story between this main character and a sort of sidekick. So this is pretty much an origin story for this duo. So you're going to be playing as Jalen. Jalen is a loner. She's a space scavenger. So she's going to be just hopping through galaxies, looking for easy salvage to sell on the market, and that's how she makes her living. So Jalen stumbles upon this unmarked planet with a distress signal. So for her, that's easy bucks. Just somebody screwed up, and now she's going to get paid for it. Unfortunately, as she goes towards this planet, she crashes her ship. But she is very lucky in the fact that Ian is there to save her and pull her to safety. So Ian is short for Intelligent Autonomous Network. He was originally the AI that controlled this full mining installation where we crash our ship. And so he pulls Jalen to safety, and this is the character you're going to form this bond with as you play. And they're going to be conversing with each other throughout the game. So those are the voices you'll be hearing. And the third main point is we want it to be set in a beautiful and dangerous environment where we really focused on freedom of movement. So what this meant for us was we want this dynamic range where the player can traverse different verticalities, being able to double jump, and also move around the environment very quickly, so you can wall run as well. And all the while, there's going to be these dangers and this beautiful environment that you have to watch out for. You're in this dangerous area, and this world is not friendly to you. And so these were the main components to what makes up Master Key. But for us, I feel like Capstone is definitely the majority making an awesome game. But for me, I feel really strongly that Capstone is also equal parts making awesome developers. So I want to highlight some of the points that my team really felt like we really nailed it and learned some great lessons. So the first one I'm going to talk about is scoping for a team of 19. So what can we realistically do in 8 months? And I'm glad Rick mentioned it, because what we realized is we're not making Halo 6. We're not making this full 3-act story with 3 massive environments, each with unique tile sets, NPCs, and enemies. But I can recall this first status update we had, and it was, oh man, we really love what you're doing, but you're going to have to scope down. You have way too much stuff, and there's no way you're going to accomplish that. So you're right, Rick. But pretty much we didn't listen. You might have thought, oh yeah, we'll just go and scope down as soon as we had that meeting. But we're cocky students, and we were that little light in our eye. We were going to tackle this. But the biggest lesson here for us wasn't that when we reduced scope, it wasn't just, oh, we're cutting features that we really, really needed. It was scoping is a way for us to really hone in on what's most important to the experience. So every time we cut something, it was because now we're going to focus on what's the most important thing. And that was an amazing lesson to learn. And we progressed through this experience with that knowledge. And it definitely showed as we near the end and really honed in on what's key to this game. So the next step was not being afraid to change direction, which ties in pretty well with this changing of scope. So we had a great instance where this really shined for our team. And something when we had our post-mortem really stood out. And so I'm going to highlight this is our melee and ranged enemy from our vertical slice. So this was about 2 months into the project at this point. And so what he did was he had 2 states. One where he's a melee robot. He just walks up to you, and maybe he'll do a short lunge and swing his arm, traditional melee type activities. And then he'll have a ranged stance where he just stops moving and starts shooting at you. These work well in traditional FPSs. This is a very cookie cutter thing you're going to see in almost every FPS game. But for our game, where we really focus on dynamic movement, where we want this tool to feel like it has more purpose, it just didn't match up. And so we sat down and said, is this working? And we didn't feel like it was. And so we went back to the drawing board, changed direction, and iterated. And so we ended up with these 2 unique enemies. So in the middle, we have our crawler robot. What this guy is going to be able to do is move around on all the surfaces in our environment. He's going to have the same maneuverability that we do. So he can jump on walls. He's going to be jumping around the environment, constantly trying to crush our main character, Jalen. And if you're too close to where he lands, you're dead. So this guy is much more versatile, and he's not just going to slowly walk up towards you. He's going to be a real threat to you. And on the far right, we have our flyer enemy. So he's going to be able to match this verticality that you have. So it's a threat you need to constantly be watching out for from all angles. And he's also going to use these same sort of tools that you have in the environment against you. So you need to be very watchful about what's around you. What can I use, and is he going to use it first? And being, very wary of that. And they also were nice because they made short work of our previous robot. And so we got some nice environment art out of it. And the last point I want to really highlight that I think our team just nailed was learning to rely on each other. So what did this mean exactly for us? Everyone brings different skill sets to the table, and this was huge. And so when you realize that it's totally okay to start asking for help and that you can trust in the team members to make great work, it's a hugely rewarding feeling. So we had a lot of projects that were 6-man teams, and it was very easy to just, go away for a week, come back with something in your hand, say, here you go, this is my part of the project. And on a 19-man team over 8 months, you just can't do that. In this industry, you're working on games with upwards of 100 people, and you need to have this skill. And so one of the examples I want to highlight is this. So this is our barrel spawner. And how this came about was it was literally just a designer walking up to an artist off hours just saying, hey, I have this cool idea. Do you think you're interested in helping me make this? And it was like, yeah. And then the next day, our team walked in, and it was like, hey, can you guys test this? Do you think this fits our game? Awesome. And there are so many examples of where you could see this change in the team, where they felt comfortable enough to just walk up to each other and say, I have a great idea, let's just do this. And that was huge for the polish and just making our game feel as good as it feels. So before we hop into the game, I just really want to highlight how happy we are as a team and how proud we are of what we've been able to make. So as we progress towards the game, I really sincerely hope you do enjoy the work, and I'll let Joel take it away. Can you hit the lights? So this is our credits. We'll come back to this at the end of the presentation now. So our main character, Jalen, has just been saved by Ian, this character you see here. And as she's being pulled to safety, she's going to, be unconscious for a while, but she's eventually going to wake up and have tons of questions. Like, where are we and what's going on? So their goal here is get these two characters off this planet. And that's where our game's going to begin.
Where am I?
Excellent. You're conscious. Assist me with this door. Its power reserves have been depleted. I can detect a battery nearby.
What? Slow down. What am I doing here?
We are in danger and must move quickly. Use your tether gun to assist me.
Alright, fine. But you owe me some answers. Okay, Toaster, you start talking before I start rewiring. What is this place?
This is mining facility 228G, which was abandoned 111 years, 3 months, 1...
Well, as fascinating as this conversation has been, I'm getting out of here.
Improbable. Your ship has been critically damaged. You are trapped in this dying facility, just like me.
What?
Deep within this facility is a power source I can use to repair your ship. There is a chance for survival if we cooperate. Understand?
I understand. But don't think this makes us friends.
That will be sufficient. Facility operators are dangerous. The gate has lost power. This could take a moment.
Yeah, I think I'll try to find my own way around.
That may be best. This maintenance corridor will provide us access to the Zalanite refinery, where we can retrieve the energy source. I will now attempt to grant us access.
How's it coming along, Tin Man?
I am unable to reroute power. Jalen, I'm being attacked. I require assistance.
Find some cover. I need you in one piece to get off this rock. See? Handled it.
Your actions were 99% reckless.
But 100% effective. Trust me, Lug Wrench.
I am not a lug wrench. I am the Intelligent Autonomous Network, a fully capable AI.
Right. I'll just call you Ian.
I am not Ian. I am the Intelligent Autonomous Network.
Don't care. You can call me Jalen.
The Zalanite refinery is just beyond this service hatch.
After we get this crystal, we're out of here?
Affirmative.
So, as Ian mentioned, you're now entering the refinery level of our game. And so in here is going to be this powerful Zalanite crystals, which you need to power up your ship and escape this planet. So by working together with the guide, you're going to be able to progress through this area, get that crystal, and off the planet.
Are you safe, Jalen?
I'll survive.
Take care. This sector has sustained maximum damage. You must proceed higher into the facility while I prime the crystal for extraction. It is a delicate process.
What exactly am I looking for here?
The facility core. 18,000 kilos of compressed octahedral zelenite.
A gigantic glowing crystal?
Put simply.
Yeah, I think I see it.
Warning. Reading large fluctuations of unbound energy.
That's a funny way of saying electrified death trap.
Warning. Reading an electrified death trap.
Thanks.
Anomaly detected. I would urge caution, but I know it would be disregarded.
Aw, nice of you to notice.
Its armor is thick, but it's conductive. In case of injury, I'm activating nearby healing stations. The security protocols have been altered.
So what now?
There is a master control station like this one located higher in this chamber. Perhaps if we could reach it, we could bypass the security.
I'll find a way up.
The operators have correctly identified us as a threat to the facility core. They are presently converging on this location.
Wonderful. Maybe you could ask them nicely not to murder us.
They no longer listen to me. It may interest you to know there is a chance of catastrophic destabilization.
Ian, define catastrophic.
Jalen! We're surrounded! We must escape with the crystal!
You might be right this time. Let's get out of here!
I'll extract a shard. Run! I'll begin the repairs.
I'll set the course.
Go dangerous. The installation was all I knew.
So, what now, Ian?
I do not know, David.
Ha, you and me both. This salvage was nearly a total loss. But, come to think of it, there's another job I think you could help me with, Ian.
So, to cap off this presentation, I just want to give out some thanks. First, I really want to thank the faculty for the constant feedback, which was extremely helpful through Capstone process, as well as our classmates for all the support throughout the semesters. It was tons of useful information, play tests, invaluable. And I want to pay special thanks to all the friends and family who really support our passion for making games. I know this isn't traditional, but it is very rewarding, and we really enjoy our work here. So just one last big thank you to everyone here today.
Hi, so we're Project Polish Productions. We are an official LLC, if you're wondering. And we're here today to present to you Hollowed. So Hollowed has come a very long way from that very first box and circle prototype you saw there. And one of the things that my team and many of the teams here have been striving for is to make a great game. I think that's really what we try to get at Capstone, is make a great game. And for us, we wanted to look at what past Capstone's games have done and how they were great, so that we might use that information to help us. And what we realized along the way is that there is a lot of great Capstone games that have been produced here at FIEA, more than I can include in this single PowerPoint here. And all of them are great for different reasons. You have games like Zephyr and Channeler that are incredibly innovative with the ways that their players are interacting with their games via voice controls or their eyesight. And you have games like Hit and Life Unfolds that are absolutely stunning games, beautiful and well put together. And you have games like Pitch Jumper and Sultans of Scratch, games that were incredibly fun to play, that had music that came along with it. And you had games like Opera Slinger, ones that were really well known outside of FIEA. In fact, this game was played by PewDiePie, a very famous YouTube sensation, and the video had over 1 million views on it. So there's been a lot of amazing games that have come out of Capstone, and we can learn a lot from all of these different ones. But there's two in particular that I want to talk about today that have inspired our game, Hollowed. And the first one may not come as a big surprise to a lot of the people here. Plushie Night. Now, you might be asking, what is Plushie Night? Well, let me tell you a little story. 2 weeks into our first semester at FIEA, Rick Hall puts up Plushie Night, their video, and watches through all of it. And as we're all tearing up at the closing, he's like, "You'll never make a game as good as this. Don't even try." And so for us, that was like, we can make a game as good as this. I believe we can. And so for our team, this game has always been something we're trying to strive to get to. Their level of polish, their story, their tone, amazing things that they do in their game. Now, Plushie Night is a game about a girl who's lost her father. The goal that the team had when making this game was to try to convey the emotions a father has for their daughter. Now, they delve really deep into tones that aren't typical of most video games. They look at the idea of grief and loss, and that's what they make the players feel. This idea really inspired us as well. So for our game, they had 2 characters. Plushie, who you controlled, he was the knight that escorted Gemma around, the main character, the little girl. Now in our game, we have 2 characters as well. The first one is Halia. She has also lost somebody that she loves dearly, and she wants to bring them back. And this is a core tone of our game. Now, she's not alone in this endeavor, trying to bring her loved one back. In fact, she has her own spirit along with her, named Oko. And together they are working to try to bring this loved one back. It's this deeper tone that really we tried to get across in our entire game. And I'm really excited to show you, and maybe you'll see that tone here. Now, the other thing that Plushie Night did really, really well is they polished their game so much. So much. I would say that game, there's not a single screenshot that looks bad. It's just amazing all out. And we tried to do the same. I can't know if we've reached it, but I can talk a little bit about the things that we've done to try to get there. We have 325 sound effects in our game, and 7 music tracks that were composed by people on our team. Along with that, we also have spent over 92 hours just working on one jump animation for our main character, making sure that that felt really right. We've also had amazing time trying to come and bring our environment to life. And so for us, there's not a single scene in our game that doesn't have at least 2 things that are moving in the environment to try to help create that liveliness that we saw in Plushie Night. And for us, lighting was also essential. We've spent so many times reworking lighting. In fact, in the past month, we decided to change our game from being daytime to being fully nighttime. You can only imagine the hours that went into that rework. But to us, it was worth it to try to get that polished quality that we saw in these other wonderful Capstone games that have come out of FIEA. Now, story and tone are great, but what about the gameplay? So for us, our other greatest inspiration was Battle Fortress Tortoise, a very different game than Plushie Night. The goal of this team was actually to create a game that had big fun and was exciting. They focused a lot on their mechanics and making sure that they adhered to a cohesive vision. So if you don't know anything about this game, it's pretty much what the title is. You're on a giant tortoise and you're defending it against these hyenas using different kinds of tactics, including naval warfare and a few other things we'll throw up on screen here. Now, what's really impressive is that they knew what their core gameplay was. It was a tower defense game. And for them, every single mechanic came back to that tower defense mentality. Everything kind of brought back around to enhance this mechanic in their game. We wanted the same thing in our game as well. Now, our game is vastly different. We are not a tower defense game on the back of a tortoise. We are instead a 3D platformer that's side-scrolling. So for us, obviously the core mechanic here is platforming. So you have Halia, the main character, which you control on one side of the joystick, and she has basic abilities. She can jump and she can move around like most platformers, kind of think Mario. But then you have Oko, and Oko has different states that have different abilities that all aid to that platforming Halia goes about doing. Now, those mechanics include a reveal and hide mechanic that pretty much allows Halia to hide or reveal objects within the environment. It also has a push and a pull mechanic. In this case, she can either be pushed towards her spirit or pulled away. And we also have a swap mechanic where the two characters can switch locations. And lastly, we have a weight mechanic where you can throw Oko and trigger different actions and different abilities within the environment. Now, each of these were meant to enhance the puzzle platforming aspect of our game. Well, if you remember us at Vertical Slice, each of these mechanics was actually in its own little vacuum. They never interacted with each other. And in fact, it was Blake Battles, the project lead of Battle Fortress Tortoise, that contacted us and said, hey, it would be really cool if you used all these mechanics together. Like, think of all the cool things you could do with them. And for us, that was amazing advice because it adhered to the idea that we wanted to have a game that all came back to this puzzle platforming mechanic. And by allowing these different mechanics to interact together, it increased and enhanced our gameplay. So even beyond just their game themselves, that team helped us a lot along the way. Now, the cool thing about Battle Fortress Tortoise is that it was actually the first game at FIEA that was published on Steam. And that's been one of our goals from the very beginning, is we really wanted to have a published game. We didn't want this to just be this student project that nobody ever got to play, and we really wanted this. Now, if you watched our Vertical Slice presentation, you might notice that we've had a little bit of a name change. We used to be called Hollow, and the reason that we had to have a name change is because this game is now on Steam. And we didn't want to deal with legal issues. So we decided to change our name to Hollowed. Now, we will be publishing our game on Steam in the end of September of this year. So we're really excited. So if you like what you see, definitely come play it. It's going to be free. Now, these two games, Plushie Night and Battle Fortress Tortoise, inspired us a lot along the way. They helped push us to try to make our game better. But there was games here in our own cohort that also pushed us to be better. We have The Draft, a game that is incredibly innovative, the first VR game to ever be produced in a Capstone project. Absolutely amazing that they took on this challenge, and you heard about it in the presentation. It wasn't easy. These people inspired us because they were facing challenges we couldn't even imagine. So to us, it was like, well, if they can face this, we can face this easy little problem here. They pushed us along the way all the time. And then you have Logician, a game that goes beyond just entertainment. It's a game that is meant to inspire students in learning and wanting to understand programming. This really inspired us as well because we didn't want our game to just be a fun game. We wanted our game to have a deeper meaning, something that people could get from it, something that they could learn from it. And hopefully we were able to accomplish it. But it was Logician that showed us that a game didn't just have to be entertainment. And lastly, we have Master Key. This game from the very beginning, they came out with their presentation at the very beginning of January. We're like, wow, this game, how are we ever going to be as good as this? And they've pushed us along the way every single time to be the best we can be. And so I really want to thank these games because I know that they are also making great and amazing games that will be remembered for so many cohorts on. So I want to give a round of applause to these games. And the last thing I want to say is that what I realized along this Capstone process is that Capstone is more than just a student project. Like, what I've learned is that in the next 15 to 20 years, we're going to be working on all kinds of different games. Maybe we'll be working on one that sells 20 million copies. Maybe we'll be working on an educational game that's going to pave the future for the next generation. Or maybe we're going to be working on some cool-ass technology for VR. But the thing is that Capstone will always be our first game. Our first game we've ever created as developers. And that's really exciting. So I'm really excited to now show you our game, Hollowed.
You did it.
Oh, he's done. We just want to thank everybody who came out today, and I especially want to thank my whole team. It's going to be really sad not working with you guys anymore. Thanks.
All right. The end of our Capstone presentation here, and now it's time for some food. So let's all hit the soundstage for JR Explode.
Look, now you guys are all primarily located in the